Okay, good morning everyone. For those people that remember, I'm Andrew Fairney from last time, or the last two sessions. This seed production area here is the C3, it's a wallaby grass, two different species. And this time of year in the heat, they're so dry. We haven't irrigated at all. There is irrigation underneath just in an emergency situation, but we haven't hit that yet. If you can have a look at it, it looks dead. It literally looks like all of this is dead. It looks like an annual grass that's just died off as every other grass does. It's not. It's a perennial, so if you actually, in a minute, you can all come in and very carefully climb over the barrier and have a look and actually open up the tussock and look right down, and you can actually see on a lot of the tussocks there's a little bit of green. Just a little bit of green. Even some of them don't have any green, but as soon as it gets rain and the weather's right, it just starts growing again. The big difference, as we're going to see, some of you already know, but the difference between the C3s and the C4s is the way they operate in the environment. So these are literally winter growing and winter and spring, so the cooler season grasses. So as we progress through the morning, we're going to see the ones that actually thrive in this heat, in the dry summer weather. So if you'd all like to have a pop over and have a look, that'd be really good. Just be really careful with that barrier. I've seen too many people not have much fun with the barrier. So just out of interest's sake, what we do next on this seed production area is we mow it down. We cut down all the old seed heads, and then all the new stuff grows up through, and it's all new fresh seed heads. So in an environment where you've got horses, the horses have probably taken that off rather than the mower. So we're using the mower instead of the horses.
When would you do this mowing? When would you do this, Andrew? When would you do this mowing?
We won't be mowing until really the main heat of summer's gone. As soon as it's gone, then we'll mow it. The big problem is burning or killing the base of the actual tussock. At the moment, it's got the protection of all the columns that are all sitting up here protecting the tussock. As soon as you cut that off and the sun can get right into the base, then you can kill it. So we're basically just protecting the crop by allowing it to stay there. That doesn't mean that if we did cut it, it would die. This is just a big investment where we have the opportunity to leave it there until when we feel it's the right time to cut it down. In a paddock, if the horses had already eaten it down, that's not an issue at all. It's just in this situation where it's
Have you actually harvested this year?
We've got the choice to say leave it there or cut it down. So we just wait for the right time and cut it down. Yes, we have. Yep. Yes, this is all just the empty seed heads. Yep. There is actually some seed around the bases of all the plants. There's seed in that. So there's actually quite a few kilos of seed actually sitting on the ground. We harvested off this half approximately 110 kilos this year, and on the other half it was approximately 50 kilos. So that's slightly down on what we had last year.
How did you actually harvest it?
With the amount of rainfall we've had. Still quite impressive though. Okay.
How did you actually harvest it?
Most of it was just done with a normal garden backpack blower, like a vac. We've actually got two other methods, but this year most of it was done with the garden vac. We've got a brush harvester that actually runs through the seed heads and doesn't suck the seed, but it throws the seed into a catching...
like a lawnmower kind of thing, isn't it?
It doesn't actually cut it, it just throws the seed into the back with a brush. And that's about 40% actually just drops to the ground, and only about 60% actually goes into the harvester. So in a paddock, if you were using a brush harvester, having that 40% go to the ground is actually a good environmental thing because it's there to help regeneration.
Is this geniculata?
Whereas the 60% that you're catching is for your use for the seed.
Okay, thank you. Is this geniculata?
Yes.
And what's that one over there?
Cease pitosum. No worries. Any other questions?
No questions. Let's
No more
go.
questions?
So the purpose of this visit was to just look at a C3.
Yeah, yeah. The whole reason we came here to have a look at this today was basically because we've been here before and we saw that green and it flourishing, and it was close to getting to a seed point. And now this is at a different stage in its life cycle. In summer, when the other grasses that we're going to see shortly that are thriving, these are the ones that
When
are
was
shut
it
down for
planted,
summer.
and was
So
it
that's
planted from
just
tube stock or
the
just?
reason we've come out here to see these today. Yes? It was planted from tube stock, grown in the nursery, and then that was almost 3 years ago. We've replaced a few plants because we had some cooch growing and we had to use herbicide, and that killed some plants, so we've had to replace them.
Andrew, which one's the better for fodder for horses? Andrew, which one's the better for fodder for horses out of
The leaf mass is actually better on the Cespitosum.
because it's taller
but
and more vigorous, or
production-wise, for our sake of seed, is actually the Geniculatum, but the Cespitosum is actually, yes, a better one for feed.
because it's taller and more vigorous, or
Yes, the leaf blades are bigger as well. I don't think it would necessarily be a dominating species within a pasture. It'd just be one that would be within it. You'd have other species like Anthosacne
Elemus a
has a
C3
better
or a
leaf
C4?
mass rather than the old Elemus it used to be called. Has a better leaf mass than a lot of the wallabies.
and is Elemus a C3 or a C4?
It's a C3 as well.
It's a C3.
So the C4s are the other part of the composition that we're kind of going to get to a bit on the next. Is it the next site we go to? Yes.
Good to have the mix.
Absolutely.
You've got your summer and your,
Yes,
and your
yes,
winter
yes.
grasses.
If you only have C3s, then in summer you've either got nothing or you've got exotics. And if you've only got C4s, then you've got the exotics through winter. So if you can actually get a really good flush of both species, then the competition with the exotics is reduced.
And so when you're ascertaining that mix, are you working that out based on, okay, so one's going to be doing more of a ground cover effect and one's more of a tussocky one, or do you mix it up for best ground coverage, not just fodder, or do
You'd be
some
going
live
for
better
both.
together?
Absolutely going for both. If you just worked for one, if you worked for just cover, you probably wouldn't be getting the best for fodder. So you definitely need both. That's why this would be in there, in the mix, the Geniculatum, but it's not one that's actually going to give you really good fodder.
Okay.
Absolutely. If you just stuck to the good fodder species, you'd have gaps.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's where you need the other species to fill those gaps.